We off?
30 seconds of carefree bliss.
Oof, like wind in your hair carefree.
Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree.
Yes!
Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree.
He's on a roll now.
Spit toothpaste on the faucet.
You got it. You got it.
Peanut butter on the light switch.
Oh, spritz, spritz.
Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back.
Use as directed.
Have I Got News for You is back for another season. Roy Wood Jr., Amber Ruffin, and Michael Ian Black are finding the funny in the week's biggest stories. Have I Got News for You returns Saturday at 9 on CNN and stream next day on Max.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of Spin Shuffle Skip on the There Can Only Be One podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. So on this show, we like to delve into soundtracks because we don't often get to talk about the soundtracks when we do the artist discographies, because I was an idiot and made the rules for that show and I have to live by them. So when Spin Shuffle Skip rolls around, it's like, oh, it's soundtrack time. I get to finally talk about these songs. It brings a smile to my face. And in this episode, we are talking about an award-winning soundtrack, that to the animated film Tarzan. And here to join me, hopefully not beating his chest, is Lyle Robichaud back on the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, and I was not aware of the no chest beating rule, so we're going to have problems.
Well, it's either that or we're going to have like 20 minutes of,
I would too. I love this movie, love this album. So happy you brought me on to talk about it.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because the entire album was done by Phil Collins and Mark Mancina, who did the score for the film. So here's what we're going to do, dear listeners. We are about to go through the Tarzan soundtrack and pick 3 songs each: a spin, a shuffle, and a skip. The spin being the one that, much like Tarzan himself, is king of the jungle. The shuffle is one that, okay, you know what? You can stay in the jungle. And the skip is one is get out of my jungle. But let's get into this album. Released May 18th, 1999. Hit number 5 on the Billboard 200. It is double platinum in the US and Canada, platinum in Netherlands, Spain, and Switzerland and Denmark. There were 4 singles off of this one. You'll Be in My Heart hit number 1 on the adult contemporary charts and number 21 on the Billboard 200. And this album got some accolades. At the 72nd Academy Awards, it won, You'll Be in My Heart, won for Best Original Song. At the 57th Golden Globes, it won for Best Original Song. But at the 42nd Grammy Awards, the album won for Best Soundtrack Album. But You'll Be in My Heart was only nominated for Best Song Written for a Motion Picture, TV, or Other Visual Media, lost to Beautiful Stranger by Madonna from Austin Powers' The Spy Who Shagged Me. Now, I can't really argue when Madonna wins an award, especially like in the 90s, because it's Madonna. But this is a much better song than Beautiful Stranger.
Also, could they have found 2 more diametrically opposed kinds of movies to take the songs from? Well, like Austin Powers and Tarzan are on different islands, basically.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, well, no, both kind of hairy chests, but still, it's one of those things where a movie like Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, the fact that it's making fun of the entire James Bond kind of genre, it kind of makes sense that it's going to have good songs that are nominated for Grammys. This part I understand. Beautiful Stranger, it's a good song. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad song. I'm just saying I don't think it's better than You'll Be in My Heart.
No, there's not a lot of songs that are better than You'll Be in My Heart when you're talking about soundtracks. This is a movie that has not really survived as long as some of the other Disney movies have in the collective consciousness. But this song is still played on every Best of Disney playlist, everywhere.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to let you kick us off here. And I have a feeling, I think I know then what your spin pick is off this disc.
It's not. That's the thing. Every single song on here could have been my spin, Jason. That's the issue. This is the hardest choice I've had to make for anything you've put in front of me of what is going to be the spin. So I had to go with the one that I loved the most as a kid when I originally watched the movie, because this came out when I was target audience. I was like 10-ish years old, between the ages of, I can't remember exactly, but I was between the ages of like 10 and or 8 and 12. I was in the perfect like sweet spot, and Son of Man will always be my favorite song on this album. It is 100% my spin. I still have this on my workout playlist to this day. It is an amazing song, just as good, better by just a little bit than You'll Be in My Heart.
Oh, this is where we're going to get into some trouble. Son of Man is my skip pick.
What?
Yep.
You wait a minute. How?
Okay.
How?
I actually have a very good reason for this, but the fact that you say that this is on your workout playlist, that part makes sense to me. And keep
It's
in
the
mind,
energy. It's the cadence to it.
keep in mind, we're talking about a skip off of this album.
Yes.
So that's still better than some albums that are out there. But to me, as I'm listening to the way Phil Collins is singing this song and the tempo that's being played at, it almost feels like it needs to be about 10 or 15 beats per minute slower. It feels like it's pushing the tempo a little too much for what it could be. You knock it down by about 10 to 15 beats per minute, and this is a great mid-tempo pop. It's the music just feels like it's pushing a little too much. And again, maybe it's just me being like an absolute music nerd about this, but I found it rushed. It felt like I had to look at my Spotify player and say, did I accidentally hit the play to 1.5 times speed button? Because it felt like that.
It's also only 2 minutes and 40 seconds, so it's over very quickly
So
compared to some of the other stuff.
So this is the reverse John Woo effect on this one.
I just love it so much. But I will say that I probably have my nostalgia glasses on as well, because this is also one of my favorite sequences from the movie, is like the time jump that it goes through of him going from a kid to being like full Tarzan mode. That's when this song plays in the movie. And I will say there might be nostalgia from that side of it, because I do love the movie and that's my favorite part of it. But no, this with a bullet. I love this song.
See, this is going to be very interesting because I personally have never actually watched this film.
What?
Never. Not in my entire life. Haven't watched it.
You should have watched it off the music alone. I've told people this. They're like, well, I don't know. I'm not really into like the Tarzan story, because it's not an original Disney story. It is very much one of their more, we're taking from something much older and, making it our own kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I have told people at several occasions, you have to watch this just for the soundtrack. Treat it as an 1.5 hour long Phil Collins music video.
See, I find the
be...
lack of Brendan Fraser disturbing.
Oh my God. Of course you like George of the Jungle more.
No. I'm just, because Brendan Fraser is a gem. We cannot talk about this film, though, on It's Not That Bad, because it actually has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 90%.
Yeah, because it deserves it. Like, yeah, that is not surprising whatsoever.
But the interesting thing here for me is that because it was released in 1999, this is before I'm a dad. So this is before I got to go back and jump back into the Disney nostalgia. And my kids were never really into Tarzan and that kind of film. So this isn't the film that would have crossed my plate at the time, and still hasn't come across it yet. So all of my notes and my thoughts on this album have zero frame of reference to the movie itself. And I recognize that certain scenes in the movie, we talked about this when we talked about the Watchmen soundtrack.
Yes.
Scenes in the movie help define the song and its place on that disc. So I have zero frame of reference for this whatsoever.
And without spoiling anything, because you have to watch this. If you listen to anything I say, watch Tarzan. It has probably the best Disney villain demise in the catalog. The way the main villain is taken off the page will shock and surprise you for a kid's movie. It is so good on so many levels. And you're right. A lot of these songs are boosted if you know the part of the song. There's one of these, I can't believe you haven't seen the movie, that we'll talk about it later if it's not mentioned. But there's one of these that you absolutely have to see the scene to understand how good the song is.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, You're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Chronic migraine is 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine before they start. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It prevents on average 8 to 9 headache days a month versus 6 to 7 for placebo.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
To realize the future America needs, we understand what's needed from us. To face each threat head on. We've earned our place in the fight for our nation's future. We are Marines. We were made for this.
Well, for my spin pick, it's going to be fairly easy because I am going with You'll Be in My Heart. And this is one of those things where, and again, I'm approaching this from a musician standpoint. I love when a song switches keys for that little extra emphasis on the musical syllables. When you get to the chorus, it feels like it lifts up to a different key, almost like it's going from like a a minor to a major at times. And then you get to the bridge, all of a sudden there's another different key there. So, and then of course you get to that, let's go up a fourth, in the trailing chorus to just pump it up even more. I mean, so many live used to do that a lot. Like let's just pump it up. Anyone who's listened to Run to the Water, that is a perfect example of bumping it up a fourth just for extra emphasis. You'll Be in My Heart. And the interesting thing here is this. We have to remember where Phil Collins comes from. We're talking Genesis. We're talking a prog guy gone pop, but there's elements here of this song that are still a little proggy because of the key changes. So,
oh yeah,
it's a fantastic song, whatever you think of Phil Collins' non-Genesis work.
And you see that kind of through the whole thing. There's a lot of Genesis ink dripped on the paper when he was writing this, for sure, because you see that in a couple of different places. But I'm not surprised you picked You'll Be in My Heart. It's most definitely the most famous one from this, from the movie. But at the same time, you really have to see it now, because the scene that this goes with, this movie is soul crushing in many places. And this music paired with what's happening on screen, they knew exactly what they were doing. They were going out for blood there, and it works every time. I've seen it so many times that it still hits you right in the stomach every time.
Oh, good. I like to cry.
Yeah, it's sad. There's some sad parts to this, especially as a parent. I've been told by my mom. We went to see this in theaters, and I remember her saying later on that, no, as a parent, seeing that in theaters, it guts you at a couple points.
Disney depressing the of your kids for years and years and years.
We make whimsy and trauma. There is no middle. There's no in between.
Well, regular movies like, The Never Ending Story did that in the 80s. And, Disney's got to have their turn too of traumatizing the youth of the year.
It's true. There's no good kids movie if it doesn't really scar you.
For my shuffle pick, I'm going with an interesting one. I'll be curious to hear, because there's a few songs on here that have different versions of them. This is one of them, but I'm going with the one done by Rosie O'Donnell and the rest of the cast, Trashing the Camp. First of all, it's a bop.
Yes.
It's a bop. And no, there are no lyrics beyond almost like scatting style lyricalizations, but you have to remember, I am of an age where at one point in time, my favorite song was I
thought you were going to say, I'm the scat man.
Oh,
that's
dear God, no.
You were going
I mean, that's an earworm to begin with.
It is.
But
that's the direction I thought. But that's a much better one. Muppets is a much better direction.
It feels like a Muppet song. It feels like it would have been perfectly fit into a Muppet song. But it still also has that tribal rhythm that fits this. The other version is actually done by NSYNC, which to me feels a little overproduced and just doesn't feel like it fits in with everything else. But the Rosie O'Donnell and cast version of Trash in the Camp, it's fun. It's a ton of like, I'm listening to this and I'm like, I'm smiling. This is the part where I really want to see what's going on in the film.
And this is the exact part I was talking about when I said there's one particular song where you really have to get the visual, and it's this one because it is very good. Without spoiling too much again, it's basically where the monkeys find the hunters camp and find the photographers camps and find all these human items and all the equipment, and it's them figuring out how it all works and playing with it to the rhythm of this song as they sing it in the background. It's amazing, and I do love the in-sync version as well, but I completely agree. The original cast version, much better. Rosie O'Donnell did amazing in return as Turk, the baby monkey that Tarzan kind of befriends. She's one of the best parts of the movie, and this song is most definitely a highlight.
All right, back over to you for your shuffle pick.
My shuffle pick is, I think, a weird one for some people, but Strangers Like Me.
Okay.
Always struck a chord because, again, I'm so sorry you haven't seen it. I had so many notes about the movie, but basically the scene that this plays in is beautiful. It's so gorgeous. I think it's probably the best visual matchup with the song in the movie because of what it's trying to explain, of what it's showing you happen in front of you as he kind of like learns the ways of his own people and not the ways of the jungle. This plays. Phil Collins' voice is haunting in this one. I think this one has a lot of Genesis fingerprints on it, and that's why I really like it too. It's so good. So the Strangers Like Me will definitely be my shuffle from this one.
Yeah, I do have to point out that I did love the score pieces that were on here, like, trailing out the rest of the album. Mark Mancina did a fantastic job with the score on this one. And, if you like orchestral score music from movies, give these songs a listen because they're fantastic.
Yeah, I honestly, some of the best Disney songs are scores. Looking at you, Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, it's some of the best work Disney has done music-wise are in the score. Yeah, the sing-alongs are great. I had the VHS tapes when I was a kid. Everybody loves the sing-along with the Disney. But it really is when they flex their muscles and get the best talent they can find because they have Disney money and get this kind of a combination going that makes not only the licensed stuff that has lyrics and is very clearly like trying to bait you in with, look who we got for this, like he's going to be incredible, but also the score, which a lot of people tend to skip over, which is unfortunate. You have to listen to these things.
Well, I remember when we talked about the City of Angels soundtrack, and that had the Gabriel Yared score pieces at the end of that one. I love when soundtracks do that. Just give a little hat tip to your composer because they do some really, really good work.
And go see a live orchestra once. If anybody out there listens to any of my recommendations, I go to a lot of live shows. You have to see a live orchestra. And if you can, see one that's doing movie scores because you'll really see some fun stuff.
And as someone who has played in an orchestra throughout high school, do that.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. No, I learned on an upright bass.
This man is a man of many talents, everybody. He is the jack of all trades.
Oh, I didn't say I was good at it.
I've seen Ever the Bridesmaid. I know you're good.
All right. So we've already had my skip pick. Now we get to wrap up with you. What's your skip pick on this? And I can hear your pain already.
No, because I hear it's pain for a different reason. Usually I rant about something that I hate. I cheated for this, Jason. I'll be deadly honest with you. I picked the Two Worlds reprise because it's only 50 seconds and it keeps me from getting from Strangers Like Me to Trash in the Camp, the in-sync version, by 50 seconds longer. That's why I picked it. There's no bad song on this album. It doesn't exist. There is no least favorite, so I simply picked the one that is kind of superfluous.
You had an out.
I did.
That would be like, taking some album that has like a 10-second intro. It's like, there's my skip. There we go.
And I went through the archives. I was like, did he ever tell me that there is a time length for how long a song has to be on an album? And
I did not.
There are rules, but there is no rule against using a reprise or a very short clip of a song in a soundtrack that gets you from point A to point B. And that's exactly what I did because I couldn't pick a skip.
Well, I mean, I remember when I had Alex Whistle on the show and we did the first Gravity Kills album. There was like about a 15 or 20 second intro on that album. And that's what he used as his skip. And I'm just like, ooh, you clever. You found
perfect.
You found the loophole.
I did. There. Okay, I'm glad somebody else did too, because I'm like, it's gonna suck if I'm like a rule maker. If after this you have to go, okay, no one else do that, please. So I'm glad someone else had the idea
No,
too.
all is fair when the rules are what the rules are. It's a track on the song. You can skip it if you want.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think the only time I would ever like step in and go, no, is when you have like a hidden track on the song, but you have to get through 8 nothing hidden tracks to get to that song.
Yeah, or it's like 5 minutes of silence after the last song, followed by that. I think you would have to try to count that as one long thing. I don't know. I'm just glad I got away with it because I really couldn't pick a skip off of this. I tried, I really did, because I didn't want to do that, but the Trash in the Camp, and then you've got the radio version of Two Worlds was my other choice because it's kind of just the same song, but I can't do that. Wondrous Place, Moves Like an Ape, Looks Like a Man is incredible. Like, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't pick one.
All right. So now that you've found the loophole and told everyone else in future episodes how to win at this, please remind our listeners what your spin, shuffle, and skip picks are from the Tarzan 1999 soundtrack.
So my spin is Son of Man, my shuffle is Strangers Like Me, and my skip is the reprise of Two Worlds, simply off of the fact that it keeps me from getting between the two really good songs.
All right, and for me, my spin is You'll Be in My Heart. My shuffle is Trash in the Camp, the cast version, and my skip is Son of Man because I had to pick something. Lyle, thank you so much for this. Now, please remind our listeners where they can find you out there on the interwebs and what you've been up to lately.
Well, I'm still working on some podcast stuff with Danny Stover. So if you look her up on Spotify, you'll see a couple of episodes with me on there. Also, I'm a producer for Anthem Sports Entertainment. So watch your TNA Wrestling every Thursday night and also Invicta.
All right, Lyle, thank you so much. And we will hear you again soon enough right here on Spin Shuffle Skip. But until next time, dear listeners, you guys know the drill. If there's an album that you want us to cover on Spin Shuffle Skip or an artist that you want us to cover on There Can Only Be One, hit us up on social media at OnlyOneCast or go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, make sure you check out It's Not That Bad, our movie show, so you can hear us not talk about Tarzan because it's apparently too good of a film. Until next time, he's Lyle. I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is Spin Shuffle Skip on the There Can Only Be One podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.